I got a special treat for you this evening. You all know him as Joe the Policeman from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. Wanted to put your hands together, give him a big round of applause for Jackson Heights' own Mr. Randy Watson. Randy Watson, everybody.
I thought you were doing me.
Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we like to take a look at movies that shaped our generation.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Thor. And today we're looking at 1988's Coming to America, which stars Eddie Murphy and was directed by John Landis. So I'll tell you, Ed, this is one of my favorite movies. It's actually my third favorite movie.
Really?
Ferris Bueller, Ghostbusters, as you can tell.
He's got
Ferris Bueller's Ghostbusters.
1, 2, and 3 right here.
The trifecta. Put your money in on it. Yes. So I can talk at length about this movie.
I can quote at length this movie.
I pretty much have quoted the movie. But are there certain things that just kind of stand out to you? Wait, pause, subscribe, like, share this video, hit the bell notification. We know you're watching. We've seen the views going up and the subscribership going up. But keep it coming.
And comment. So let's just do a brief overview about what this is, as if you didn't know. Eddie Murphy, Prince Akeem. It is his 21st birthday.
Yes.
He is betrothed to be married to a rival country's queen.
Yes.
And he decides that he wants to sow his royal oats. And the best place to find a queen, which would be Queens,
New York. Yeah,
and so he comes to America to either seek true love or to go back and take his betrothed.
That's right.
And that's a terrible summary. There's so much more to this. But let's get into that.
That encapsulates it. I mean, you've got a young man about to be married, wants to find true love because he's had everything done for him. I mean, from getting himself dressed, bathing, using the bathroom, everything has been done for him. And now he's got a wife-to-be that will just submit to him. She'll do anything he wants.
She will bark like a dog.
She'll bark like a dog, yes.
And hop on one foot.
Yes. And that's the first time in the movie Eddie breaks the fourth wall when he looks at... I love a good...
You got that?
I love a good fourth wall break.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's go back. Eddie Murphy was a big star by this time. He had already done. He's been on Saturday Night Live. He had got his start in movies with 48 Hours, and then graduated to Trading Places, and then Beverly Hills Cop was where he kind of hit it. He had done The Golden Child, but all of those had all been vehicles for the Eddie Murphy style.
Oh, yes.
And I would say this is the first time where he actually didn't do his Eddie Murphy persona for his leading role, for the main role.
Right.
He brought it into some of his secondary roles. And this was also the first time that he played multiple characters within a movie, which obviously worked out really well and led him to do this a lot in his movies.
Nutty Professor, Norbert, and stuff like that. Right. So, yeah, he's done that a lot, but... Yeah, there's also some different traits, not only with this movie, he was directed by John Landis, but the one before that with John Landis, Trading Places.
Yeah.
So there's a nice correlation how they're working together again.
And while you mentioned that about John Landis, and let's maybe jump in the gun a little bit, but we're there. So, but when Eddie Murphy was with John Landis for Trading Places, he was still kind of learning the business of movies. And so things that I've read, Eddie Murphy kind of took a subordinate role to Landis in that so he could learn from him. But by years later, 5 years later, Eddie Murphy had kind of gotten a big name for himself and brought in John Landis to do, I don't know if he brought him in, but John Landis was directing this film, but John Landis still kind of treated him as if he was back there in the Trading Places role.
Right.
And there was a lot of clash between these two
They did not like each other after this.
No.
And they didn't talk, they didn't ever do anything together, but then they made amends, and Eddie Murphy said, I want John Landis to direct Beverly Hills Cop 3, which he did do. So there's a lot of grudges that happen in Hollywood, and people.
You know what? You know what helps get people past grudges? Money.
That's right.
Pay me enough, I will forget everything.
Oh yeah, and you see that a lot, and even some of the movies we've talked about before. But this movie is chock full of so many different stars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and it's not even just past stars that you would only know from that time, but even
upcoming stars.
Upcoming stars. I mean, Cuba Gooding Jr. was his
first role.
That was his first role, and they actually deleted part of a scene that he was in.
Oh, really? Okay.
In the barbershop.
Yeah.
Apparently, he told the barber, he says, which was played by Eddie Murphy, I don't have enough money to pay for this, and Eddie, they cut a hole, or not a hole, but shaved just a bald spot here in the back and said, all right, get out of here. So whether they actually did that and then cut it out, I don't know. But Samuel L. Jackson was in it.
Right. Now he'd already been in a whole bunch of stuff by that time.
Right.
But still, yeah.
But for him he had a small part in this, but he's so recognizable even then and now.
Right.
So Louis Anderson was in it, Eric LaSalle. Now we're jumping around a little bit, but it's just James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
Just an all-star.
John Amos.
John Amos. Yeah, I love John Amos. He's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes. Yes.
It's like he needs his own spin-off from this movie with just McDowell's.
Right. So let's do this. What was one of your? Let's go back into the movie. What was one of your favorite parts from the beginning, when we were in Zamunda?
From Zamunda.
And then we'll transition.
I didn't really have a lot of favorite parts there. I guess the part where he basically leaves. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, there's a beautiful country that they portray, but which is actually reference to a Richard Pryor skit about being from Zamunda.
Oh,
so, but anyway, I don't know. I knew that was building the story and getting it to where it needs to go. Yeah. My first favorite part of the beginning of the movie is actually when they get to New York, and they're trying to we're natural, we blend in.
And they're in gold.
Yeah, but first. I guess mainly whenever he's trying to tell his parents that he wants to go.
Yeah.
And his dad doesn't want him to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, fine, go sow your royal oats, and then you'll come back here and marry her.
Right.
So what about you?
I actually thought one of my funnier parts for that was whenever he was trying to the girl that was going to be betrothed to him, and she was obeying his whatever you like. Mm-hmm. But so I thought that was pretty hilarious. But before that, not necessarily one of my favorite scenes, but I did want to mention that the dance scene that was in there was choreographed by soon-to-be pop idol Paula Abdul.
Yes, so, that was a great dance scene.
It was,
which makes sense.
And I think she was still a teenager whenever she did that.
Yeah, she was young.
Yeah.
So, of course, we grew up with her in the 80s.
Right.
But
she'll be forever my girl.
Aww. And if you don't know that reference, shame on you. I'm kidding. Look it up.
All right, so now we're back. Now we're into America.
Yeah, we're into New York, and of course, when they want to change their clothes to get out of their princely attire, they wear. Let's blend into New York, and of course, they look like a typical tourist.
Well, they go to the tourist store.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but yeah.
And then they try to find the worst place they can rent. They don't want to look like they come from money, so they go and find some slum. You know, I won't use the language they use. If you watch the TV version, it cuts out the nudity, it cuts out a lot of the language and stuff like that. If you watch the DVD version, then you get a lot of the other stuff.
I know, but sorry, but the language is, you have to have the language. It's what makes it funny. The way that he greets New York in the morning, it's fantastic.
Yeah. He doesn't know the customs, so when a guy uses the F word, F you too, with a big smile, like, yes.
Right. Within New York, I will do as we do.
Accents aren't your thing, are they?
Not today. But yeah. But also, I mean, I think talking about the apartment, I love how they transition to whenever they stock the apartment full, about how you can really turn a turd into something nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the part where they're going to show the apartment.
Yeah.
And one of the guys starts tumbling down the stairs. You know, I mean, the stuntman did that.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to hurt.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, the landlord's like, don't be pulling that again. You know, I know you got the money or something.
Right.
But they go up there and there's the police tape around everything and there's an outline of a dog. And he's like, excuse my language, damn shame what they did to that dog. It's like...
Well, wasn't the dog next to the outline for a dead body?
Yes.
Yes.
But he comments about the dog, obviously.
Right.
People hate when dogs and cats die.
Yeah. So he gets a job as he goes out and tries to make some money, and he goes into McDowell's.
That is one of my favorite scenes of the whole thing. Whenever they first come up and they're getting the job, and when he's showing them, which is actually, that's an old Wendy's.
Yeah.
That they converted.
Yeah.
And Wendy's was cool with it.
In Brooklyn, too, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so, yes, it was in Brooklyn. And Wendy's was cool with it. They loved it.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a McDonald's down the street that didn't realize that
they were filming.
And the film company got permission from McDonald's headquarters. Say, hey, this is what we're doing for the thing. And they said, all right, cool, you're good. Well, the other McDonald's owner didn't know that. So he came down there raising Cain and just was causing problems. But no, I love when John Amos is, you know, he gives that whole thing. And now I love movie quotes, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but he's like, you know, me and McDonald's, we got this issue or this, you know.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, see, they're McDonald's. I'm McDowell's. They got the Big Mac. I got the Big Mick. Both come with 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, but theirs has a sesame seed bun. Mine doesn't have any seeds. It's like...
They're totally different.
Totally different. John Amos is walking Prince Akeem and Semi into the restaurant.
Yeah.
Louis Anderson's there, and he knocks him with the door, and he spills the milkshake everywhere. And, of course, you don't complain to the boss. But, right, you're showing because Prince Akeem gets the mop bucket. He gets to mop.
Yeah.
And I've reenacted that one time, put it on Facebook, where I took the mop in the mop bucket and just started moving it around. He's like, don't use the bucket. It'll just confuse you. But Louis Anderson was like, see, I used to mop like the floors like you guys, but now I'm washing lettuce. And soon I'll be, being the fry cook, and then I'll move up to cashier. And 2 years, I'll be assistant manager, and that's when the big bucks come in.
Aspirations.
But I'll tell you this, the trivia I looked up was that the studio, they wanted a white comedian somewhere in the movie. Why that stipulation, I have no idea. But that's how Louis Anderson got in there.
Oh,
Apparently
okay.
the studio gave 3 names, which I don't... Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall in an interview didn't tell you who the other names were, but they said, they picked Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
So he's a trip.
And
he's in my number 1 favorite movie. He's the flower delivery guy.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is.
Oh, I know this.
King of cameos.
He was actually in it. Yeah. Twice. But anyway.
But yeah, no. I also like the scene where they go out to the bar and they're all trying to hit on the women. Yeah. And you have the twins, and then you have Arsenio, which dresses up as a woman.
Yeah, Arsenio Hall dresses in drag, got the red dress, and
yeah,
she's not interested in the Prince Akeem. Of course, they don't say they're Prince Akeem and all that.
Yeah. And
then she looks at Arsenio Hall. Of course, it's him, but your friend's yummy or something like that. It's like.
So still, one of my favorite scenes for the whole movie is the Black Awareness pageant, where you got Arsenio as Reverend Brown up there on stage, which what you alluded to at the very beginning of this video. Fantastic. And because you've got Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall is on stage, they're also in the audience.
Oh yes.
And who's the other guy that's with them? Do you know his name?
No.
Okay. He was funny.
Oh yes.
He's hilarious.
That boy good.
But I say that all the time, and my kids look at me like I'm crazy. But still, one of the best parody songs performed by my favorite band, Sexual Chocolate.
Yes.
I believe the children are our future.
Yeah, the way he delivers it. And I was wondering, he does the mic drop at the end.
He does.
Is that the first movie to ever do that?
It might be. He was a trendsetter and didn't know he was.
Sexual chocolate. Give it up for Randy Watson. One more time, Randy Watson.
That boy good. He good.
Good and terrible.
Yeah. All right. So keep it going. All right. So we got through that, and now we get mom and dad come into play. They come to check out what's going on.
King Jaffe.
Yes.
Oh, that's because Semi asked for more money.
Right.
And asked for like 100,000, or no, asked for less than that, or maybe he asked for 100,000, and then she's like, "Why don't you ask for a cool $1 million? And you don't think that'd be too much?" Nah. So that would get the king coming.
I think it would.
What are you spending my money on?
And they came with a huge entourage. We think about entourages today.
Oh yes,
it's a huge entourage. But yeah, no, it was just the way this whole unfolds. I love the chemistry, and really the story arc between, for really Akeem, who's grown up to be this privileged person, to go here, understand the value of love, and to not take his royal inheritance for granted, and really want to put his feelings and the feelings for somebody else in front of his. Honestly, the whole message to this.
Yeah. You see this in a lot of movies. It's almost a cliche where the man or the woman, they try to pretend like they're a pauper or something. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of possessions. And then that person falls in love with them. And then it's like, oh, by the way, yes, I'm a prince in this country. And, you can be the queen, when I become the king. And it's like, but that's not the person you fell in love with.
Right.
Hallmark Christmas movies do that a lot.
Unfortunately.
Stuff like that. Hey, they've got a formula and it works.
They have more formula than Marvel movies.
It's the Hallmark Christmas universe.
Right. Oh, Lord. I won't start on that.
But, you never see a movie where, and actually, no, this one, she kind of does. When he says that he's the prince and, hey, I'll give it all up for you, this and that. And she's like, you were fake.
Right.
You weren't being true to me. And she does. She does. So I guess I just contradicted myself. But most movies that you don't. But, she ends up coming around and saying, when actually they do get married, she's like...
She's coming to Zamunda.
But
they allude to this, but you never see it. But I'm assuming that basically the king goes and talks with her and talks about how because to get her to come back, because I think he winks at Akeem at the end of it.
Well, yeah, Jaffe, king, he goes to Mr. McDowell's house to search for his son. Then he says, "Well, I want to talk to her," the daughter,
right?
And basically it's like this ain't gonna happen. So. And, of course, one of my favorite lines from John Amos in there, Mr. McDowell, he says, "This is America, Jack. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. This is America, Jack. It's like, you're not going to talk about my family like this. We're not beneath you."
Right.
And so, but, yeah, you're right. He probably did talk to her separately, even though we don't see it, for her to come around like, "Look, I was a fool. I'm an idiot."
Right.
Well, the king's not going to say that. But, just like, look, we have traditions. Sorry.
Yeah.
How do you like the basketball scene where they go to the basketball game?
In the face! Yes, I do. I say that at games still, and nobody knows what I'm talking about.
But whenever he goes to the restroom, and the bathroom attendant is someone from Zamunda.
Yes.
And so when he's leaving, the guy, "Oh, please come in," and he's like, bowing down and this and that. And of course, everybody's like, "What in the world's going on? Oh, this is the greatest day of my life. Oh, I'll always cherish it."
Yes. Yeah. Happens to me all the time. Totally can relate.
So what product is in there that's featured? Is actually sponsors the Black Awareness pageant or pageant. But there's a certain... Yeah, go.
Let your soul glow.
I'm kind of upset I asked that now. But
you knew it was going to happen.
Yes. But that is one great product, and that has provided years of entertainment.
Oh, yeah. Just the commercials with the glistening hair. Let it go. Yeah.
Let it go.
It was great.
They get up from the couch, and those spots
they
are
all
there.
Have, it's definitely a classic. So do you know where the king and queen were king and queen again in another movie?
I read this and I don't remember.
It's not Coming to America 2.
Well, no.
But it is The Lion King.
Yes.
They were both the voices for
Mufasa
and his wife, which I don't remember.
Sarabi.
Yeah, okay.
Sarabi.
Yes.
I'm not good with impersonation.
But no, and they just put out a sequel to this year. And have you seen that yet?
No.
It is not very strong.
I thought years ago, and of course I put it on Facebook. I could go back. It doesn't matter. I didn't write the script or anything, but I was like, they need to have a Coming to America 2, where Prince Akeem is now the king, but maybe it's his daughter that goes or something. It was like, need to do something. But as we've talked about before, usually sequels don't live up to the original or even come close.
Well, and this time it wasn't his daughter that went. It was he found his bastard son who was over in America.
That's right. And that's what I didn't get. And that's probably one reason I didn't watch it. It's like that just does not follow the narrative from the first movie.
And I know this is not what we're talking, but it doesn't. And that's the whole thing that I didn't like about that movie, because his character, Akeem, was pure of heart.
Yeah.
And even though they made it, so there's ploy in this was that he was drugged and then basically date raped before he met the girl, Lisa. And that's where this child was conceived. And I'm like, that's horrible. That's a horrible story.
I can't speak for them because I don't know, but they probably did something different than just, now my child's going to go.
Well, which would have been a very standard sequel.
I would have had to go to like Los Angeles or some other city, or I don't even know where that one was. In New York as well.
Yeah, it went back to New York, but their time in New York was very small. They actually got the son back over to his home country to be his ruler, and then it became all about women's rights and everything for his daughter to then take over. So then it changed direction of the movie. But whenever they were trying to push his other son and his daughter, it was.
But we're not here to talk about.
We're not here to talk about. Just go with the original. Go with the original.
At least they didn't try to remake this one.
Right.
I really want a shirt that says "Say no to remakes."
Right.
We talked about that in another video, and I was like, just say no to remakes.
No.
Or at least remake the bad ones.
Yes, remake the bad ones.
Not the classics.
Go remake The Golden Child. You can remake that one. But yeah, no, to me, this is an instant classic.
Yes.
I think it holds up extremely well today. And honestly, it's one of my most quoted.
Well, yeah, definitely for me as well. Now, like you said, do you think it holds up today? Like, if you saw it today, it'd be just as good as it was then. Because we've talked about how different movies, like Spaceballs,
right? There's
references that are from the 80s, that if you're living in the 80s or early 90s, whatever, that you would get those references.
Right.
And one of my movies, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to review, is UHF. You would literally have to watch a ton of 80s, even 70s movies to get the references and all that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that wouldn't hold up today unless you're our age, basically, and know all those films.
Yeah. I think it does. I think it does because there's not a lot, other than just the time period that in the late 80s is, just of fashion and what people's interests were and things like that. But that's just in any movie.
Oh yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that the jokes that they have are contingent on your 80s knowledge. Nowadays comedies is a lot more racy and things like that. And so as far as, with the R rating, honestly, if you took out the language,
And
this
nudity.
would be just a little bit, but
Little
yeah.
bit nudity.
But this would be a very mild mannered film.
Yeah.
True. If you just dropped all the F-bombs out, and this would probably be just a regular old PG.
No violence or anything
Right.
like that.
So when it has a good and with a good message and such, and so I honestly think it does. I mean, I've shown it to my kids and the older ones, and they like it. They didn't get it as much as I did, but of course I've also had decades of watching this and just taking it in and memorizing it and spitting it all back out.
Well, people today wouldn't know who Arsenio Hall is.
But I still think the character.
Well, the character
was
works fine, yeah,
Correct.
but you might not get where he's kind of bringing some of that is, or actually his style of comedy.
So his Arsenio Hallisms.
Right. So, but no, I mean the character holds up fine as far as if you didn't know who that was.
Right.
I'm just thinking from the perspective to be able to appreciate everything about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, but as in, if I was going to go back and watch a movie that was from many years ago or whatnot, and I didn't know all the characters, of course, this is me and my nerdisms, but I would probably go back and see, who was that guy? What was he all in? And kind of do a little minor research on him. But I still think that as far as some of the Eddie Murphy films, really the three best ones from the 80s of Beverly Hills Cop and Trading Places and Coming to America, to me, still hold up really well today.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about Coming to America? How many times have you watched it, and what is your favorite line? And if you like this video, please like, subscribe. Go check out all of our other videos, and we'll see you at the movies.